bombshell, Jimmy Johnson, Maury Gallagher, and Legacy Motor Club are leaving Chevrolet for Toyota. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. I hope your week is going well. A couple of big breaking stories from earlier this afternoon we'll react to in just a moment. But first, I need to tell you about a special contest that my friends at Live Fast Motorsports and Ziegler Racing are putting on. If you guys haven't seen, Live Fast Motorsports is partnering with Ziegler Racing to give away 2 VIP hot passes to the Chicago Street Race. The first ever Chicago Street Race. Gonna be huge. It's 4th of July weekend. It's super easy to enter this Instagram giveaway. Just follow Ziegler_Racing on Instagram. I'll put a link to the original post in the description below. And underneath that post, all you have to do is tag 2 friends. Boom, just like that, you'll be entered for a chance to win 2 VIP passes to the Chicago Street Race. But you better act quickly. The giveaway will close at the end of this month, May 31st at noon Eastern. Again, click that link down in the description below. It'll take you directly to the original post. But now we've got some NASCAR news to get to. First, I want to share this just because I thought it was really cool. But Darlington Throwback Weekend is now less than 2 weeks away. And some teams are beginning to reveal their throwback schemes, including Trackhouse with Ross Chastain. They're throwing it back to Dale Jarrett, complete with the UPS logo on the hood. That's right, UPS back in the sport on the hood of Ross Chastain's #1, fitting that UPS would return to sponsor the FedEx driver's arch nemesis. I hope FedEx is on Hamlin's car for this race. That would be a fun duel to watch, nostalgic in a way. UPS is one of Worldwide Express's partners. That's how they were able to leverage that deal, get UPS back on the hood. That's great. They'll also be sponsoring Carson Hocevar in the truck race at Darlington. He's also running a different Dale Jarrett throwback scheme. I was never a huge fan of the flames on the brown, but it is an iconic scheme, and I love the race the truck sort of callback there on the truck bed. That's kind of fun. So cool to see Worldwide Express fully invested in the throwback weekend, getting UPS on board. The best throwback schemes, in my opinion, are when you can get the original sponsor on board, or at the very least get the original colors correct. Most teams succeed on that second part. It's the first part, getting the correct logos, that can be difficult. Kudos to Trackhouse, Worldwide Express, getting UPS on board. That's awesome. Now we've got to talk about the latest breaking stories that interrupted my lunch. I was enjoying a nice heated up slice of leftover pizza. Nearly choked on a pepperoni when I got this news. Actually, no, we'll get to the Legacy Motor Club stuff at the end. Let's go in chronological order. The first story that came across my phone, Austin Dillon and RCR have lost their Martinsville appeal. This story's kind of flown under the radar, but yes, after Martinsville, a couple weeks ago, the 3 car was taken back to the R&D Center, and NASCAR handed them an L1 penalty, 60 driver and owner points, 5 playoff points, suspension for the crew chief, a $75,000 fine. NASCAR deemed that RCR had illegally modified part of the underwing assembly. Today, the 3-person appeal panel heard RCR's argument and ultimately chose to side with NASCAR, fully upholding the original penalty. But now, for a change, we actually got a little bit of transparency. Remember a few weeks ago, NASCAR rewrote the rule book. They added a sentence or two which now allows NASCAR to publish the appeal panel's reasoning. This is the first case where that new rule is coming into play. Reporter Bob Pockris quotes it here. RCR loses appeal on its Martinsville penalties for underwing assembly modifications. From the panel, quote, as submitted, the nuts are not a thread locking device. They are connected and part of the turnbuckle. The nuts do not lock the assembly, therefore the assembly has been modified. Boom! There we go! An explanation, some transparency now. Honestly, I need more than words, I need pictures. If you couldn't tell, I'm not the most mechanically inclined, so I don't know how to translate that sentence. Maybe RCR would argue that there was a part shortage, maybe RCR would argue that there's no performance advantage here. I have no idea what the truth is. All I know is, hey, we got some transparency for what it's worth. I have to applaud NASCAR for making that change. I know it's a mid-season rule change, and I'm not a big fan of tweaking the rules, but this isn't really a competition rule. This is more of just a procedural, an administrative rule that shouldn't have any bearing on what goes on at the racetrack. It's just transparency. It's just allowing the fans and the rest of the industry to look in and understand why certain groups are making the decisions they made. That was the big question after the Hendrick Louver penalty. Why did they get all their points back if the appeals panel agreed they broke the rules? Didn't make sense then, we didn't get reasoning. Now, with this new clause in the rulebook, we are at least getting some sort of reasoning. I appreciate the transparency. As for the penalty itself, this stings, this hurts for Richard Childress Racing and for Austin Dillon. He is 31st in points right now, 98 points below the playoff cut line. It hurts for the team, obviously, because 18th in points pays differently than 28th in points at the end of the season. But from an outside fan's perspective looking in, I don't think this changes a whole lot. Austin Dillon still needs to win if he wants to make the playoffs. That was probably always going to be true. Sure, he would have been a lot closer to the cut line, theoretically could have pointed his way in, but we have not seen consistent speed from that 3 car. At Dover this past weekend, he legit ran outside the top 30 for a large portion of that race. So things aren't right over there. When it's all said and done, I think Austin Dillon was going to need to win to make the playoffs. This penalty doesn't really change that. It is what it is. Now, I have not seen if RCR will choose to take this to the final appeals officer, which they have the right to do so. If they have made a decision or if they make a decision after this comes out, I'll put an update down in the comment section below. Anyway, that was the first big story that broke this afternoon while I was enjoying my lunch. The story that made me almost choke on my delicious pizza toppings was Legacy Motor Club. Out of left field, Legacy Motor Club let the world know that after this season, they will be leaving Chevrolet and will instead join Toyota. This is not a drill. Toyota finally gets that third legit Cup Series program to go alongside JGR in 2311. Eric Jones, Noah Gragson, who both at one point or another drove for Toyota in NASCAR, reunite with TRD. And Jimmy Johnson, now co-owner of Legacy Motor Club, who won 7 championships driving a Chevrolet bow tie, now joins the dark side. There are so many different ways to go with this. Let's start with the official press release. David Wilson, head of TRD Toyota, had this to say, quote, Jimmy Johnson and Maury Gallagher have impressed us with their long-term vision and commitment to building a championship caliber organization. More importantly, their character and values are aligned with ours and our current Cup Series partners Joe Gibbs Racing and 2311 Racing. Of course, we also look forward to being reunited with our old friends Eric Jones and Noah Gragson. That first part there mentions Maury Gallagher, that's the GMS side. I remember, I think it was last year, Maury Gallagher during a press conference made it very clear that he wants to win now. Where he's at with his career, his age, he doesn't have time to build a program up slowly, struggle for a few years, find their footing. No, he needs to go. Legacy Motor Club needs to go now. Switching to Toyota, this is a big change, a massive overhaul. This could be exactly what the doctor ordered. He's not messing around, that's what this tells me. Maury Gallagher, since he and the GMS group came in and bought up what was Richard Petty Motorsports, they've had their foot on the gas. Eric Jones, then swapping Ty Dillon with Noah Gragson, a top rookie, bringing Jimmy Johnson in, go, go, go. The switch to Toyota is just the latest and perhaps is the biggest change in all this. Well, okay, maybe it's a tie with bringing Jimmy Johnson and Jimmy bringing his people into the mix. That was also a pretty big change. And speaking of Jimmy Johnson, I mentioned it. He's been a Chevrolet guy as a driver. He was so closely tied to Chevy, to Hendrick Motorsports. Buying into Petty GMS, renaming it Legacy Motor Club. Felt like that Chevrolet connection was kind of part of the whole deal, but not anymore, or at least not after this season. Here's what Jimmy Johnson said in an official statement. Quote, we admire and respect the level at which Toyota conducts their business in this sport and look forward to forging a new legacy for the future. I will always be appreciative to Chevrolet and everything we've accomplished together. I'm so thankful they took a chance on a kid from California so long ago, and I'm proud that the history books will forever memorialize our record-breaking success we shared. Powerful words there from Jimmy Johnson, reminiscing, reflecting on the legacy he and Chevrolet built over the years. But Jimmy's new legacy is with Toyota. The next chapter that he's hoping to build as a team owner, as a businessman, will not include Chevrolet. No, it will include Toyota. Wow. There's so much to digest here, and I don't even know how this affects the GMS Truck Series operation. I didn't hear anything about that in their initial statement today. That could be completely separate, could continue to be a Chevrolet system, but I imagine they'd like to swap that over to Toyota at some point. Anyway, focusing on the Cup Series announcement, my gosh, my head is kind of spinning. From Toyota's perspective, this is a big win. they've made it no secret over the past several years, even the past several months, they wanted another Cup Series team. They weren't in a position to build one from scratch. I think it was clear they were looking at existing smaller teams and were trying to convince one of them to swap. Let's go back a few years now. There were rumors back when it was Richard Petty Motorsports that they were considering a swap to Toyota when Bubba Wallace was still there. Now eventually those talks subsided. Bubba left for a new Toyota team 2311. Richard Petty Motorsports remained a Chevy team. It's not Andrew Murstein, it's not Richard Petty's team anymore, but I wonder if those initial talks, those roots, were still there when Toyota approached Maury Gallagher and Jimmy Johnson. No matter what, for Toyota, this is a big win. They get Eric Jones back in their system. Remember a couple years ago when Levine Family Racing shut down? JGR, Toyota had to make a choice. Christopher Bell or Eric Jones? There really wasn't a right answer. I mean, Christopher Bell has done great things in that 20 car the past 2 years. He's made it to a championship 4, was leading the points for most of the season until this last week. But Eric Jones, a little younger than Bell, still has a tremendous upside. I still believe that even now. He won the Southern 500 last year in a Petty GMS car. Toyota gets Eric Jones back and Noah Gragson, who clearly this year not gotten off to a good start. He's 32nd in points as a rookie. Very raw still, needs refinement, but there's potential there. Toyota gets him back in their system. Now that he's a little more fleshed out, he's more of a legit Cup Series driver than he was back in his KBM days when he was kind of underwhelming and they were kind of willing to let him go to Junior Motorsports. So you get a good team, great leadership. Maury Gallagher is go, go, go. Jimmy Johnson, the legacy speaks for himself. You get two good young drivers, Noah Gragson, something to build on. Eric Jones, who I think is emerging as a legit foundational driver. Huge win for Toyota. This will now bring their number of Cup Series entries to 8, which, I don't know, especially when you look at super speedways, when you're trying to work together. 8 is a huge difference compared to 6. From Legacy Motor Club's standpoint, I think this is a big deal as well. I don't know if maybe Chevy just cut them off this year knowing that this switch to Toyota was in the works, but Legacy has struggled out the gates this year. Last year with Eric Jones at least, they showed strong signs, some glimmers of hope. I mentioned the Southern 500 win. This year, I mean, Jones is 24th in points. He's squeaked out a couple of top 10s, but Noah Gragson has been terrible. There's really no other way to say it. Legacy needed a shot in the arm. This first year was not going according to plan. Could that just be Jimmy Johnson moving in, bringing some of his folks on last minute, that turnover behind the scenes making things difficult? It may not have anything to do with Chevrolet cutting back their support. It may just be this is still a new team figuring things out. Could be a number of different factors, but no matter the case, Legacy Motor Club needed to change something, and full-on switching manufacturers, yeah, that's a pretty big change. I don't know if this will make them better next year going forward, but I can't imagine it will make them worse. We'll have to wait and see. This is where the fun speculation begins. Let me know down in the comment section below. Do you expect Legacy Motor Club to take a big step forward next year with Toyota? Or do you think it'll be more like when 2311 first switched to Toyota? Now granted, that was in the Gen 6 era, but that first season, I mean, until Bubba Wallace won at Talladega, it was kind of inconsistent, kind of a struggle. Do you think Legacy will be more consistent right off the bat now that we're in the next gen spec car era? Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. There is so much going through my mind right now. This was not a story I expected to wake up to today. But lo and behold, here we are. Legacy Motor Club, Jimmy Johnson, Maury Gallagher ditching Chevy for Toyota beginning next season. Big news, huge implications. Again, let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave it a like. If you're new to the channel, you love NASCAR, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you stay in the loop on all the latest news. And thank you to my Patreon supporters for your very generous and continued support. Got a very special video planned for tomorrow that you guys will hopefully see in the afternoon. If you saw my Bill Elliott, Dawsonville, Georgia Racing Hall of Fame tour, it's kind of in that similar vein, but a little different. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with y'all. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next episode. Take care, y'all.